Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Zzzax of Live podcast. I am Mike Mack, and literally with me, for the first time since done the podcast live, is Kyle Burbank.
Hello.
So this is a different episode. Last week was different.
Don't know what to do with my hands.
Last week was different because Kyle was in Hong Kong. This week is different because Kyle is sitting in my office. So things might be a little weird. There might be some dogs barking in the background. We might not all be able to fit into one shot because we do have a guest. We do have the return of the Zzzax of Life draft in this episode. So I know all of you that watch and listen were like, where is the draft in this episode? I only want the draft. And we have the draft this week.
And it's just as silly as you've come to expect from us.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I just love that we played up all of the listeners and viewers and everything. Yeah. So we are going to be breaking down this week's third episode of the season 2 of Loki on Disney Plus. We're going to catch up on a very little bit of Marvel news, not a whole lot to catch up on at all. And then, like I said, we will have a draft. But what's been going on with you? I know last week we talked about your Hong Kong trip.
Yeah, we're back from that, obviously. It was cool because I've seen this stuff before, but I really like their Marvel section there. It's not like an Avengers campus like in Paris or in California. What it is they have like a Stark Expo area. So there's the Iron Man experience, I think is what it's called. And that one, it's basically like Star Tours, but it's a Stark story. And it's cool because this was the first time I saw it updated to where they have the new castle and World of Frozen in the film because you fly out of Hong Kong.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize they added that.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
So even though World of Frozen doesn't open until November, they already updated with the new castle and everything. So that's a fun ride. But then we did it last time we were there because we went for the opening of the Ant-Man and the Wasp ride.
Right.
And it was the one we did the most. We kept going back to it. We did it like 3 or 4 times. It was Buzz Lightyear. They turned it into the Ant-Man and the Wasp ride.
The Wasp.
And it's really cool because the guns, first of all, you can actually see your laser, which makes it easier. And then also
for those of us that just suck at that ride, the Buzz Lightyear ones.
And then you also have the haptic feedback when you hit a target. So it's a lot of fun. It's not a great ride, but it's a ton of fun.
Yeah.
And if you hit it at the right time, it's not too long of a wait. So the one thing I'll say, I was hoping for some cool exclusive Marvel merch, and there was like a little bit, but overall in the park this time we felt like there was more stuff that you could already find on Shop Disney, and not as many exclusives. But that's probably for the best because we only had a carry-on and it had to last us for 2 trips.
Yeah. So that definitely not only saved you some money, but also probably made you saved you from buying more luggage, to be honest.
I did show you the ones with like just the tiny writing on the front.
Yes. Yeah. I think I need to tweet those pictures from the Zzzax of Life account on X. Sorry. We actually haven't we didn't talk about it last week, but since our last podcast, Twitter is no longer a thing. It became X. So now you can follow Zzzax of Life on X. Right. I think that was before. Or was that after Secret Invasion or before? Maybe it was, and we just never talked about it.
Remember, but we'll have to. We have X polls now.
Yeah. Is that? Sure. So I need to get out to Hong Kong. That sounds awesome. I love that they added the Frozen stuff already to Stark. Really cool. You joked about not knowing what to do with your hands. I don't know where to look. Like, this is so weird.
That's what I was really referencing. Is like, do I want to talk to the people or do I want to talk to you? Split in the difference here.
We do have a comment. Hi, Steven. We are live right now. So if you have any questions about any Marvel news or this week's Loki, feel free to drop them in there. Like I said, let's jump into the little bit of Marvel news that we've had in the past week. The biggest story was that Deadpool 3 was delayed. Likely delayed, yes, because Disney hasn't officially announced it yet, but the actors strike is still ongoing and that film has not yet finished filming, so doubtful they can reach a May premiere date. So it was, I think, speculated that it is going to move back to July 27th, which was Captain America Brave New World, which I'm going to mess up the name of that movie 100 times between now and that release. New World Order, whatever else they want to call it. So that, yeah, it looks like Deadpool might move to that date, and Captain America, which is finished filming, could move up to May. Which, if that's the case, then whatever, that's fine. It doesn't really change much for
Wasn't there
us.
another one that they mentioned that was also done that could possibly move? Whatever was supposed to be in November.
Well, Thunderbolts, I think, is also delayed right now, so that's still pushed back, or likely pushed back. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of, as you would expect with the actor strike, you're going to see a whole lot of schedule shifting, and every date that we know for movies right now is probably not the date that it will actually come out. It'll be really interesting to see next year, actually, especially early next year. Like, are we just going to have weeks of like nothing like hitting theaters? Like,
they're just going to re-release the Taylor Swift.
I was going to say the Taylor Swift movie is going to dominate the box office for months. Yeah, so that's the thing right now. Deadpool 3, which by the way had moved up to the May date, and now is going to be moved back off of that May date. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with their schedules for sure. I mean, it's not just Marvel too. It's going to be obviously all Disney movies and then all movies. So we'll see how that goes. The only other bit of news we have to talk about is all about the Marvel Spider-Man 2 game that just dropped today. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to be spending all day and all weekend just playing that game. I don't have a PlayStation 5 yet, so I haven't played the game. But I could drop everything right now and just play the first Marvel Spider-Man game all weekend long. So I'm sure this new game is going to be like just an absolute binge fest for everyone all weekend long. The soundtrack for the game is now available to stream on Apple Music and on Spotify. So that just came out today as well. That Adidas collection, the collaboration with Insomniac and Marvel, that came out today. We talked about that last week. What else? There was the art of Marvel Spider-Man 2, an art book for the game will be coming out as well. I believe that's available for pre-order right now. You can see that on laughingplace.com. So yeah, I mean, that's really what all the buzz is about, as far as Marvel goes right now. It's pretty much all focused on that game. And actually Jess texted me, I think it was yesterday. I don't know, all the days blend together, but, and she was like, they're marketing this game so much right now. Like every time you open up Twitter, I guess you have to, X. Every time you open it up, I guess you have to have, been looking at the game in some way, but it is everywhere. They're releasing a new trailer or like story, video every day. And they do not need to market this game at all. Like it is one of the most anticipated video games of all time.
Yeah, there's a lot of things they don't need to have. Like who doesn't know about Coca-Cola?
That's right. That's a fair point. But I mean, you need to have. It's not Christmas without the Coca-Cola polar bears. So
that's fine.
So yeah, it's funny to like see how much like where the marketing budget goes. I guess for Insomniac, which I don't know how this stuff works out with.
They don't sleep.
They
just advertise.
Fair. That's a fair point. No, I don't know how like the marketing like goes. Like, is Marvel fronting like the marketing for the game, or is it Insomniac who gets a share of whatever? But I guess for Insomniac at least, it's like this is the thing. Like this is what they have to push. Marvel, it's like whatever. It's our video game. We have 6 movies coming out next year. So yeah, it's just interesting to see that. But yeah, I can't wait. I will be spending way too much money on a PlayStation and that game in the near future because, again, the first one was amazing. The Miles Morales spinoff was amazing. So I can't wait to try the new one. It looks so good.
It's funny you should say spinoff because Miles Morales on the Spidey and His Amazing Friends I was watching this morning, his name is Spin. So it's literally a spinoff.
Nice. Well played. I've never watched that actually. I haven't watched.
I've watched a little bit of it. It was kind of fun. There's Black Panther on the one that I was this morning. And then, the theme song is Patrick Stump. So it's like listening to Fall Out Boy for kids.
Fall Out Boy for kids. I was going to try and come up with a different name, but it's already boy in the title. So never mind. All right. We're going to stick with that. But I saw they have a bunch of other like guest characters for like the upcoming season. I guess like The Thing is going to be in it and stuff. So that's cool. Thoughts on the Marvels $50 to $75 million tracking projection. My thought right now would be that it's probably just too early. Tickets just went on sale like last week.
I don't know when they went on sale. I bought mine today.
Yeah, I need to buy my tickets too. Although I typically tend to wait until like the week before, just so I at least know that I can go to the movie. But Yeah, I think it's too early to track that right now. I also
probably better that it tracks because like a lot of them were tracking too high over
Yeah.
the summer. So
Yeah,
we'll
and
see.
box office numbers have been just all over the place. You know, like it's been obviously not what it was, and so it's been a little bit difficult to kind of compare things. I guess the budgets are still the same, so that's really what all you're worried about is the profitability of the movie. But and I'm sure it'll still be going up against the Taylor Swift movie, so it's going to have some competition. But yeah, I
should get a Kelsey cameo worked in.
Actually, you know what? Since we breezed past Deadpool, since you're talking about cameos and Taylor Swift, did you see the rumors about that?
No.
Yeah, that Taylor Swift may or may not be playing Dazzler in Deadpool 3. That would be, and there was the did you see when I think it was a Monday Night Football game? I don't remember if the Chiefs played on Monday night or not, but Taylor Swift was arriving at a game, and you know the commentary team was like, "There she is, the biggest star walking into the stadium right now," and it's Taylor Swift going through security. Behind her is Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. No mention of them at all. It didn't even acknowledge.
I didn't see Hugh Jackman, but I saw the Ryan Reynolds, and then I know that Ryan got got Jake from State Farm to show up.
Oh yes, yeah, I did see that too.
Other Kelsey.
No, I just thought that was really, really funny that Ryan Reynolds and like Taylor Swift is that level of star that Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are irrelevant. That just not even worth mentioning. But that there's a little bit of something there, right? If she's rumored to be in Deadpool 3 and there they are walking into this game together, little interesting. Along with the writer director. His name on my head, the guy does everything with Ryan Reynolds these days.
Oh, Sean Levy? That guy or
is it Levy?
Levy?
I don't know. Yes, him. He was there with them as well. So I don't know. There might be something to that. Also, I love the casting. Dazzler is not a super important character, so why not have Taylor Swift play her? You know, kind of along the lines of Harry Styles playing Euros. So yeah, that's an interesting potential cameo rumor there. But yeah, that's it for Marvel news from the past week. You ready to get into our Loki discussion?
Yes.
I still wish we had a drop getting into the discussion of whatever it is.
We can do that.
I need to work on that. It's just hard because it's, you know, it changes with every few episodes. So
we had one for What If, right?
We did have one for What If, thanks to the listener, which by the way, happy belated birthday to the listener. But yeah, let's talk about Loki. This episode was titled 1893. Are you?
I was going to put up a spoiler banner. You could keep talking.
Oh, that's a good point. Yes, we are going to be discussing the third episode of Loki, which just dropped on Disney Plus last night. You know, so we are going to get into spoilers. So if you have not yet seen this most recent episode of Loki, you might want to tune out for as long as this banner that Kyle is definitely not just putting together right now on the spot. As long as that banner is up, we are going to be discussing spoilers. And there it is. So when that banner comes down, you can unmute us. But also, if you're just listening to this, then hopefully you've seen Loki at this point. Why would you click on a podcast that's talking about Loki if you haven't watched the most recent episode? So yeah, let's talk about episode 3, 1893.
Which they actually, did you notice when we go to watch these things at 6 p.m. Pacific, usually it just says like episode 2 and it gets updated later. This time it actually has a title for the first time.
That makes sense to me when you're dropping it at a specific time as opposed to just like at, you know, midnight. I mean, I guess it's still a specific time, but you know, they don't really care as much because you're not going to have that audience like waiting like it's appointment television. So yeah, no, I do like that because if you think about it, there's really no reasoning for it to, why don't you have the episode title ready? That's bizarre. But yeah, so they are putting the episode titles up as you are turning on the show, you know, right at 9:00 on Thursdays, like 9 Eastern. But yeah, so 1893 is the episode title. And
not Tyler Sheridan show, or whatever his name is.
I don't know. I don't know what show it is.
Yellowstone, and then he's got
Okay. Yes.
Taylor, I don't know.
I've never have you watched Yellowstone? No. I
know.
Anyway. I know a lot. Well, yeah, I think you can go watch it on like Paramount Plus or something like that.
I just watched that Frasier on that.
The new Ninja Turtles movie is on there now, so I have to watch that.
It was good.
Yeah, anyway. I've heard really good things. But yeah, this episode opens up with some fun old timey Marvel fanfare with the Marvel scroll, which was really cool. Which it played for a few seconds, and I was like, "Oh, this is fun!" Just like throwing in some old music. And I was like, "Wait a minute, this is just the Marvel music, but they changed it up." So that was cool. But yeah, we open up in 1868. Yeah. With Ravonna, which Ravonna, Renslayer, they keep going back and forth. They go with one or the other. I know it is just first name, last name, but bouncing back and forth. I keep doing that myself now too. But yeah, she arrives in 1868. Oh, also, it was interesting. So we mentioned this last week too. They're putting up the year, the location, and then sacred timeline, right? We'll come back to that later on. But so Ravonna arrives there. She meets with Miss Minutes, who set up this meeting. And the idea is that Miss Minutes is operating on a plan created by He Who Remains. And she has to deliver, or Ravonna had to deliver a package to this exact moment. And we see her drop that package in a window. A boy goes over, picks it up, and opens up to see the TVA guidebook. Right. So I don't know about you, but to me, I was like, okay, yeah, that's young He Who Remains. The idea is they have to spark this moment to create the TVA. But if OB wrote the guidebook and he got the idea for the TVA from getting the guidebook, didn't OB create the TVA then?
Well, no, because I don't think that this is He Who Remains. This is Victor Timely.
Yeah, and I wrote this in my recap, and that's too.
Also, like, you mentioned that it says the sacred timeline. So they're on the sacred timeline, and then when we go back to 1893, it's a branch timeline. So she created that branch.
Right. But the TVA operates outside of all timelines. So, and I wrote this literally in my recap. I said, this is some time travel shenanigans that we just don't have time to get into.
I also want to mention, like, Miss Minutes is hopping around and just like, probably like, you're not very incognito. And so she turns herself gray, and you think it's just a bit, but then she does it for the rest of the episode as though that's like,
right. That was the thing. No, it was orange. That's why you stand out. No, now that you're black and white, you totally fit with this, this levitating AI clock in the 1800s. Yes, that was pretty funny. But yeah, the idea that they are creating the TVA by going back to this, again, He Who Remains, Kang, Victor Timely, as we get to know him in this episode, this variant creates a whole paradox that wrinkles my brain.
Well, I'm going to jump ahead, but there is a part where Victor is flipping through the manual and you see OB's photo, and he mentions OB. And for whatever reason, that just kind of stuck out to me, like, oh yeah, OB's role is probably a little bit more involved or maybe even sinister than it seems currently.
Yeah.
Just something about him bringing that up. And obviously we knew that he wrote the book, but just the way that it came up, I just kind of struck my ear.
So are we thinking there is something like that OB? There's a 60% chance that he either betrays or does not betray Loki and Mobius. That's if you missed that last week, we got some betting odds on what happens in Loki. And that was one of them. It was bizarre.
Well, we also didn't even get a chance to talk about last time Ouroboros. Which is the iconography of like either a dragon or usually a snake eating its own tail. So it's like a circle, first of all, just like a Mobius strip is a perfect circle. And it also signifies rebirth of some sort. So I don't know if there's any significance to that, but obviously the endless circle is
interesting. Okay, yeah. And that would play into that paradox of him creating the guidebook to then create the TVA to give him the chance to create the guidebook, and makes sense. So I feel like you'll probably see that theme pop up throughout this season, I would guess. We then, after that whole drop off, that delivery of the guidebook happens, we get back to the temporal loom in, I don't know, do you want to call it present day in the TVA? I don't know, wherever we are or whenever we are.
Okay, Inspector Space.
But I thought it was interesting because we talked about this. We mentioned this briefly last week too, that, with the destruction of all those extra timelines that was causing the temporal loom to basically like overheat, I guess. With the destruction of the timelines, I thought maybe we wouldn't have that issue anymore, that imminent temporal meltdown that they keep talking about. It apparently is still the issue. But I guess my headcanon is that, with things happening the way they are, branch timelines are still just constantly being created. So it's sort of just an infinite amount of timelines, the multiverse theory that's just continuously.
I think it's similar to my Google One storage, where I delete a bunch of stuff and then I get another message saying that it's still possible.
There you go. Yeah, that is it. So Google created the temporal loom. That is what we're getting at here. So that the temporal meltdown is still very much the imminent danger that they are dealing with. And so sort of the plot of this episode is that they need He Who Remains, his temporal aura, in order to open the blast doors so OB can do his science fiction stuff to stop that. But obviously you're not going to get He Who Remains. He is dead. So they need Miss Minutes. So they go to where they got the last hit on Ravana's tempad, which brings them to 1868. And I thought it was pretty funny because they get to 1868 and they're like, all right, we had these 2 hits, 1868 and 1893. Let's go to 1893. Like they're there in 1868. They do nothing. And they're like, all right, let's go ahead to 1893. And they're like, yeah, she must be here. So kind of just, so the show can happen.
Exactly.
So yeah, then they move on to the Chicago World's Fair 1893, which was that? Is that a thing? I never looked it up actually.
It seems like it could be
right.
thing.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know when was the first World's Fair.
Gonna make me Google while I say.
Google is not a sponsor of this podcast, by the way, though not that we're against the possibility of that happening. But yeah, so they go to the Chicago World's Fair in 1893 and start looking around. I liked the two that they were like, oh, well, we'll have to find her here. And Loki's like, how do you suppose we do that? And he says, by looking.
There was an 1893 World's Fair.
There you go. I thought you were going to stop at there was an 1893. I'm like, well, I know that.
Cracker Jacks actually debuted.
Oh, very cool.
That was real.
That's cool. So yeah, Mobius was very excited about trying some Cracker Jacks at the World's Fair. So
if only they had a jet ski though.
Yes, that's true. So they go around to look around for a bunch of different exhibits and stuff after hearing about seeing a newspaper story about a ghost clock that was haunting the Midway. And they come across a Norse mythology. I don't know, what do you call it? An exhibit, a pavilion.
Did you start to feel like with how easy they saw the Miss Minutes thing that this was a setup?
I didn't think at the moment, but yeah, I mean, it does feel like it could have been, but clearly, at least from what we know from this episode, it wasn't They weren't trying to lure them in or anything. That could absolutely change in the future of this show, but or the past. So I'm just gonna keep making these time travel jokes just to annoy Kyle.
Time travel.
So yeah, they find this Norse mythology. North mythology. It's just about that direction. And they see statues, wooden statues, more or less, of Thor, Odin, and Balder, because that's who you think of next. So one, really cool. I actually mentioned this in my my 10 things I want to see in Loki season 2 is I want to see more Asgardians or variants of Asgardians, and Balder is one of them. He is another brother of Thor and Loki.
Balder the Brave.
Yeah, Balder the Brave. That is actually, he is a comic book character. I would assume also a Norse mythology character. But yeah, he does exist in the Marvel comics. He has a big role to play in a lot of them. So there was a really funny, back and forth between between Loki and Mobius. Mobius saying Loki is jealous. And I love that he ends on Thor's not that tall. Just a great line. And Tom Hiddleston, by the way, obviously he basically is Loki at this point. That's just who he is. But his comedic timing and everything is so it seems like it's just so thrown away, but it's so perfect in every line. Let me see here.
You can just click it.
Yeah, okay.
You can read it better.
Well, I can read. Yeah. We have a comment from All in the Game. Elevators, the zipper, first voice recording, and the Ferris wheel were all introduced to Americans. I assume you mean at this World's Fair. That's awesome. So, and all of that, I think all of that was featured in the episode too, and maybe not elevators. I don't know if there was an elevator.
Yeah, the Ferris wheel was obviously a part of it.
I did see this rumor as well that All in the Game is mentioning here. Daniel Craig was supposed to play Balder in Multiverse of Madness as part of the Illuminati.
Balderdash.
Balder. Ooh, maybe we can work that into our podcast at some point. I would have loved to see Daniel Craig in that role. I would still love to see Daniel Craig in that role. But who knows? We'll see. I hope they could bring Balder into the MCU at some point. Clearly, I mean, we're going to have another Thor movie, right? Like this set up Hercules and all that. So we'll see what they do. Loki notices this sign for a whole bunch of things happening at the World's Fair. And one of them is Temporal Marvels. They said the thing from Victor Timely. And so they read the word temporal and they're like, that's got to be something. Let's go look at that.
Again, leading me to be like, this feels like a trap.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he does mention like we got to look for breadcrumbs. And yeah, it is just.
Well, after they checked the Cracker Shack stand.
Right. Yes. No, that was work. He had to go over, and they might.
This is work.
Sure. That was work the same way this is work. But yeah, I thought, I don't know if you caught this, by the way, there was another name on that Victor Timely sign, Ferdinand Lang. And
the
so
cow?
That
The bull.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, that doesn't sound right. Ferdinand the bull. No, Ferdinand Lang. I mean, I refuse to believe in coincidences in anything Marvel does. I can't imagine it actually leads to any bigger story, but the fact that they threw the name Lang on that sign when the last time we saw Kang was in Quantumania, and we're getting back into that character here, and of course we then pretty soon after get into the post-credit scene from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So throwing the name Lang in there had to be like a little like something. Like, there's no way that was just. But well, yeah, when you write a recap of the episode and you pause on almost every frame to try and isolate things, you tend to notice things like that. But
did it say like, was there context for it? Like,
it was a singer. It was a German singer, or it was a singer with a German military band. I don't know.
Well, he joined a gang, a band of people in Germany to fight at an airport.
There you go. Kyle's uncovering all of the secrets. Next week, he's going to tell us when we're going to see Mephisto
in the system.
So yeah, we get into what was essentially that post-credit scene from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, where Loki and Mobius see that presentation from Victor Timely.
And it was a little less dramatically.
It was cut up a little bit differently. But we also see that Ravonna with Miss Minutes just like in her purse the entire time.
Like Paris Hilton's dog.
They're watching this presentation from Victor Timely, who is, again, a variant of He Who Remains. He is, in the 1800s, he's presenting the temporal loom. So obviously he's creating something that is so advanced and well beyond the time of 1893 that it doesn't entirely work the way he wants it to.
Well, so that actually brings up a good point. What was your read on him? So like, we kind of skipping ahead a few beats. He's kind of like a con man.
Yeah.
Like I kind of got that vibe because the thing kind of craps out, and he, we see him pay off a guy to get the bidding up and stuff like that. But I don't think it's entirely like just con man. I don't think it's all just like smoke and mirrors. I think he probably has some stuff. Like he says, like, I'm just not all the way there, but I think he does have a better capacity than he's presenting on stage, but is like kind of just using his like wits to kind of con in the meantime until he can get up.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you're right. Because it is like, he's not a straight con man. Like he does actually have, he has the benefit of having the TVA guidebook to work off of. So yeah, there is a level of brilliance there. He's just, and he mentions it too. He's like, he's not in the right time. Like the technology of this time is not advanced enough for him to do the ideas that he has. So yeah, again, playing with the time travel story here, but yeah, you mentioned he pays off that guy to up the bidding. I did not catch on to what was going on there, because I did see he goes over to this man at the bar, slips some cash under his hat and gives him a tap on the shoulder and then walks away. And I was like, what was that about? And then I didn't realize that was the same guy that was bidding on the temporal loom earlier. So yeah, okay, there you go. So you are isolating each mode. So to write a recap, you miss things like that.
Well, you also miss the important part of that scene is that he doesn't do partnerships. So if you hear the word partnership again, let that.
That's true. Yes, that is true. Yeah, because you know, we kind of jump past it, but everybody is like getting into his face about trying to buy the temporal loom. He sells it for $1,000. Somebody offers to, you know, to be a partner and to distribute it for him, and he says, I don't do partnerships. So he does sell the temporal loom for $1,000, which, you know, it's 1893. So what is the conversion to that right now? $30 billion.
Oh, well, even if it was in like 2002, it'd probably be worth $2 million.
You're not wrong. So he sells the temporal loom and then makes his way out of the building, where first Ravonna catches up with him, and then Loki and Mobius seconds later. And there's this sort of almost like another bidding war of like, hey, we need you to do this. Although it comes to like later on, they do really have the same goals. It's just that Ravonna doesn't trust Loki. Mm-hmm. And obviously Ravonna has different goals beyond what their initial goal is. But if they had just talked, it would be like, hey, let's go to the temporal loom and stop the destruction of the TVA right now. Probably would have been a lot easier, saved us a lot of trouble. But yeah, so they do eventually, they get into this whole chase sequence after the guy who bought the temporal loom catches up and, you know, realizes, and that's where we kind of realize that Victor Timely is at least somewhat a con man. He's selling off these sort of half-baked inventions. And so we get this long chase sequence, ends with Ravonna and Timely and Miss Minutes getting away. And so they are off on their own thing. And there's this sort of rivalry, like Ravonna and Miss Minutes are sort of butting heads as they compete for the attention of Victor Timely, because they both have this admiration on sort of different levels for He Who Remains, which you get into a whole lot of like weirdness with Miss Minutes in this episode. Like she becomes almost a little creepy. That whole like mannequin face thing that she did was like,
I did like her Pac-Man ghost impression though.
Yeah. Yeah. That is one thing I skipped past there. There's a whole distraction of Miss Minutes becoming a giant ghost and literally just going, ooh, and scaring people away, which was fantastic. But they make their way to Timely's lab. And on the way, he explains to them, well, when I was a boy, somebody delivered this book to me. Ravonna just kind of gives him a look, and he's like, you know, it was you that delivered the book. And Ravonna just kind of says yes, even though it clearly wasn't her plan, even to the point where like she was debating at that moment to whether or not to deliver the book, like what's in it for me. And so Miss Minutes kind of fires back at her there. And there's, again, just they're sort of butting heads about which one of them is really sort of the right hand of He Who Remains. So there's that interesting development between these two characters. Ravonna mentions, you know, that she's looking forward to this partnership. She said the thing. So that prompts Timely to side with Miss Minutes and to leave Ravonna, literally just drops her off a lifeboat. And I was like, that happens. Like, it's a hard cut to her sleeping, and then she just falls. And I was like, where did we just go? What just happened here? But yeah, so they leave her behind.
So sorry.
No, yeah.
I forgot because I only watched it once. I didn't watch it as closely as you. So wait, this is after the Ferris wheel scene, or is the Ferris wheel?
This is after the Ferris wheel, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I moved past the whole chase sequence with
well, Sylvie showing up.
Sylvie does show up in that moment too. Yeah. I mean, she shows up again later on and has more sort of a more
and both very conveniently, like she comes just in nick of time, which was a little annoying.
Well, when you're dealing with time travel, I guess you're always going to be right there at the right moment, right?
I guess so.
So yeah, Sylvie is there, and she argues with Loki over, and goes right back to the season 1 finale of like, well, Loki doesn't think they should kill He Who Remains, and Sylvie does, because Sylvie wants that free will. The TVA shouldn't exist. It should just be what happens. And that'll come back later on when Sylvie returns at the end of the episode here. But I mentioned they get to Timely's lab, and I mentioned that whole creepy Miss Minutes stuff of like, she's like, you made me so well. You made me. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. So articulate, I guess. So real, more or less. The only thing that she regrets is that she never got to have a body. She wanted to actually be a physical being. And it gets to like, there's maybe a romantic thing there for her. And so, yeah, that Timely.
She goes full stock mode.
Yeah, she does. Yeah. And again, projects herself onto the face of a mannequin, and it's really creepy. It could be a great Halloween costume or a cosplay in the future.
Unless you're a SAG-AFTRA member, then it's struck media and you can't do that.
There you go. I can't imagine there's any SAG-AFTRA members listening to our podcast, but that's fine.
That was a 1 in 3 shot.
So Timely then hits the device that kind of locks Miss Minutes back into, this little, I guess not a temp pad, but the same type of device, which begs the question, why was Ravonna just keeping her in her purse when she could have had her in the device the entire time?
So the show can happen.
So the show can happen. Exactly. So yeah, he realizes teaming with Miss Minutes was probably the wrong move. Ravonna shows up again, right at the most convenient time, with a prototype that he built of a time stick, which kind of looks like a big blaster of some sort. And threatens to prune him. And then, of course, Loki and Mobius then show up at the right time. And so they start trying to talk Ravonna down. And then Sylvie shows up. And you have this whole situation here, which Sylvie had no problems over and over again in this episode, just being like, here's a huge blast of energy. I don't care what happens to any of you. Which, I mean, it does kind of match her attitude this season so far. But so Sylvie then has the opportunity to kill Timely. And, that was her goal the whole episode. But Timely then comes up with this argument of, and I'm so curious to know if Victor Timely is, what we know him to be so far, or if there's something more to this character. But he comes up with the argument of, I know, what you have, what you've dealt with. I'm not that man. You don't know me. I still have choices that I can make. And so that obviously triggers, something in Sylvie. That's the whole thing she was fighting for in season 1 was free will and being able to make your own choices. And so she can't kill Timely before he becomes He Who Remains, because he's not that guy yet. He still has the free will to make those choices. So, so she backs off. She tells Loki and Mobius to take Timely to the TVA, and that's it for them. They go to the TVA. And so you would assume next week's episode will probably start with them stopping that temporal meltdown. But she does also say, leave Ravonna to me. And so she goes, and Ravonna is kind of at this point just like, if you're going to kill me, just do it. I'm done running or fighting or whatever. And Sylvie says, no, you wanted a seat at the end of time, and be careful what you wish for. Kicks her through a time door and sends her right there to where He Who Remains' body is still just
He remains
sitting. He who is remains at this point. And then so Ravonna is there at the end of time with Miss Minutes. I'm really curious. She still has a temp pad, right? Like she could still then just leave, unless maybe they don't. I don't know. Maybe they took her temp pad away and she's just stuck there at the end of time. And we get this really interesting cliffhanger of, Miss Minutes is like, he shouldn't have made an enemy out of somebody who knows so many secrets about him. And then she says, I know one about you, and it's going to make you really angry. And that's where we end this episode. And I mentioned in the recap, again, you can read on Laughing Place right now. There's a long history of Ravonna and Kang, or whatever variant you want to call him, which Victor Timely, by the way, is a name of, a name that Kang goes by at some points in the comics too. So there's a long history between those two characters in the comics. They've been allies, they've been enemies. So I'm really interested to see what this secret might be. It could be any number of things. It might be something completely not from the comics at all, something completely original. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. But what did you think about this ending? Was there anything for you that was shocking, or?
I don't know if it was shocking. It worked. I mean, I don't need a huge hook every episode. I think maybe you need that more in the first season, where it's like, I'm going along
Sure.
for the ride.
It's funny though, because I
very
think
worried.
this was probably the biggest hook of this season so far, for me at least. I know, like, I mean, you know, being a super comics nerd, the first episode with Sylvie ending up in Broxton, Oklahoma, was like, oh, that's awesome, let's go. But no, this, as far as the story within this actual show, I think this probably was the biggest hook so far, and I'm definitely interested to see where I don't expect to get an answer next week because that's just not the way Marvel operates. But yeah, definitely interested to see what happens for sure. Any other? Yeah, we do have some comments to catch up on here.
Honestly, just that she does have her temp pad. She pulled it out, so we'll see how that goes.
Well, so that's what I was thinking about, because she pulls out the device that then lets Miss Minutes out. I don't know if that's the same device. Is she just in the temp pad? Because that's when you know, Timely like locks her in that device. I don't think they ever made it clear that is the temp pad, or it is not. I'm not sure. But if that is the case, then you're right. Then she does have the temp pad, in which case kicking her into the end of time was completely irrelevant. Like, she can just leave now. She can go right back to that moment. So I don't know, but yeah, it'll be interesting. Anything else on Loki before we move on to our only one game this time? But
I miss Minutes. It was nice to see Miss Minutes, even though she's super weird and creepy. It's fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do think the return of Miss
the
Minutes.
villain, we all really like. Obviously, she was kind of villainous in the last season, but now really seeing the villainous side that we all kind of
right, because she doesn't really turn the corner in season 1 until that finale, when you see that she's with He Who Remains, and even then you were kind of like, I don't know if she's a villain. She's kind of just like, you know, an AI that
she's an assistant.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, I totally agree. I think the return of Miss Minutes was awesome. I also think the return of Ravonna was great. I think she is a great character. So I like the direction they're going with her. I would like to see her more willing to fight. Like, it seems like she kind of lost the willingness. Like I said, like, she tells Sylvie, "You're going to kill me, just do it." And obviously she's a little bit overmatched with Sylvie, but I'm curious to see if she does get that fight back in her going forward. Also, it's interesting, you know, the whole Jonathan Major story. Like, it's hard to ignore, but it's also, you don't really want to get into it too much. But again, he was great. I mean, he was really, really good. He's played 4 different versions of the same. I mean, more than that, because of the post-credit scene of Quantumania, but like at least 4 different versions of the same character, and yet they're all so different, but still feel like, you know, you still have that same like threatening sort of energy. And Timely was so different, but I guess because of the other characters you've seen, you've been like I said, like, I don't know if I believe Victor Timely is really so innocent.
Well, it's kind of the same thing what you got with in the scene that was in Quantumania, and then in this, where Loki's like, "That's the guy! Oh my god!"
Yeah, and Mobius is like, "What do you mean?
He's
not? Yeah, he's just a guy." And yeah, I think you know. So I just to say it, Jonathan Majors is great again, and we won't go into it any further than that, I think. All right, now are we ready to get into our games?
I think so.
All right.
As soon as we hit the thing.
As soon as I hit the thing, here we go. There it is.
Putting a team together. Assemble.
All right. So I totally forgot, but now the banner is down. No more Loki season 2 spoilers. We are getting back into the Zzzax of Life draft. And this week we are going to be joined right here. So if we can make a little bit of room for her, Becca Burbank is joining us here. If it all squeeze into the dot somehow, I don't know how you want to.
Okay, we're good.
The dog wants to join.
I think the dogs might join the draft as well. There we go. It'll work. Yeah, we can make it work. So we are going to be drafting. We've done this this concept before. I think both times with Tony, right? Because it was animation both times.
We also did a Muppets one.
We did a Muppets one too. That's right. That was with Bill. Yeah. With Bill, host of the 2Ps 1T podcast. But we are going to be drafting live action Disney Avengers. This is going to be interesting. So we've done this, like I said, we've done this with Muppets. We've done it with Pixar, and we've done it with Disney Animation. And we had Tony on for both of those last two.
Here.
some overlap. Where I don't know what you're doing.
Well, because Disney Animation, Disney happens to remake a lot of their movies in live action.
Yeah, that's just added a name to my list. Thank you. So Becca, first of all, by the way, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
What have you been up to?
Oh,
I mean, Hong Kong.
Traveling with Kyle. So yeah, kind of wherever he goes, I'm like a little puppy. Like, where can I come to?
No, these puppies just came.
Not those puppies. Also, Barely Necessities. You got
Yes.
that going on. I mean, it's been a couple
weeks
off now,
yeah.
but yeah, the host of the Laughing Place merchandise show, Barely Necessities, which you can see right here on the Laughing Place YouTube channel, unless you're listening, in which case, go to the Laughing
Yes.
Place YouTube channel and watch Barely Necessities. So yeah, we are doing, like I said, live action. So any live action Disney movie, we are ruling out other things Disney owns. So, no like 20th Century Studios, no Lucasfilm,
Walt Disney or Disney's. Or
yeah, the
something
castle needs to be on the poster in some way, more or less. So this will be interesting. We'll see if we end up with maybe somebody tries to sneak something in that's not actually a Disney.
That would be him, not me.
Kyle, has LeBron James been the character in it? Space Jam 2 is not a Disney
I can
movie.
get Chris Paul, right? Didn't they make a CP3 movie for Disney Plus?
I have
Whatever that was
probably.
called?
You probably did. All right,
I
so
forget what it was called. It was pretty early.
early Disney Plus.
Yeah.
All right, Becca, you know how this works. You've done I don't even know how many drafts with us at this point, but do you want to pick first, second, or third?
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about this element of it. You know what? I'm gonna go right in the middle there. I'm gonna go second.
Wow.
Gonna go second. Okay, so
Mac, do you have any idea which one?
no,
goes
of
first?
course I don't. This is an
Go
odd number
first.
episode. You want me to go first?
Yeah, let's just do that.
All right. Oh boy. Well, then that is interesting. Okay, I know. I do have one. So we're drafting a team of Avengers, right? So we want these heroes to protect, to be Earth's mightiest heroes. So I'm gonna go. And by the way, Marvel movies are not allowed. We cannot just draft the Avengers. But I am gonna draft a superhero. I am gonna go to the movie that I only seen once, and it was a long, long time ago, so I remember almost nothing about it. I'm going to go to the movie Sky High and draft the Commander.
That was going to be my first pick,
Yeah,
probably.
that was it. That was a late find, a late add to my list for sure.
Really? That was literally the first name I wrote down for the same reason. I've seen the movie once a long time ago.
Yeah.
It came out. I watched it for free because I worked in a movie theater. And yeah, that's Sky High. Good call.
Yeah, I mean, it's the
Did
only
you have the Commander?
superhero.
I didn't put the Commander on my list
Okay.
today. I was thinking about him yesterday when I was initially
And
starting.
just totally forgot
and
about it.
totally
Yeah,
forgot about it.
I've definitely done that with the one actually that I added to the list seconds before we started this draft. By the way, if you see, I am just keeping track of the draft here. I'm not just like texting someone or like getting
Same.
advice on the draft.
Yeah,
We're
I had to just delete the Commander off my list.
Yeah, there you go. So my first pick is the Commander. Becca, you are up now. You chose to pick second, and Commander was not on your list, so that worked out for you.
Yeah, I think then I'm gonna. I mean, I don't know how this would work because the character that I'm thinking of, it's a live action movie, but a computer character. I was gonna take Tron. Can I take Tron?
Okay, I was wondering about this too because I don't know. You'll have to tell me. Tron is
It's a live action movie. I think.
Oh no, it's a live action movie, absolutely. But I don't know the character of Tron. Like is it an actual physical being?
I mean, he's.
If you want to take it, you can.
Yeah, you can absolutely take it. It's a fair pick. I just don't know that it's a good pick. I have no idea.
Well, I mean, if you can get a character, if the character is in the computer,
He's your Miss
Okay.
Minutes.
and can help.
Oh yeah. Okay,
like,
so it's like
can help,
drafting a Miss Minutes.
Yeah, I mean, he does save the day. The movie is named after him. So, but yeah, that's a good question. I think I'm still gonna stick with it though.
That's fair. And I
even
had
if
the
it's
thought,
not a great pick, I'm gonna stick with it.
I did have the thought because I thought of Tron right away, and then I was like, only if we were doing this after the next one comes out, because Tron Ares is like a sentient AI that like takes a physical body in the real world. I was like, that's the pick I want. That's the one. But yeah. So Tron.
From
Again,
the
I don't-
1982 movies.
Gotcha.
I'm not going with Tron Legacy.
Okay.
Just to be clear.
We should probably write these down.
The picks?
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay,
Here.
cool.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, because we will do the draft and then completely forget all of our picks. Probably just assume that Kyle drafted Happy Hogan. But yeah, so
Not
we've
today.
got the Commander and we've got Tron so far. So you are up now, back-to-back picks.
Well, I'm on the same page as All in the Game, I'm gonna take back-to-back Magic characters, including the second one that I wrote on my list. That is Balthazar from Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Okay, I thought Sorcerer's Apprentice.
That was on my list.
I did think of Sorcerer's Apprentice. I've never seen the movie, so I didn't know which character would be the one to pick. I was like, can I just pick the sorcerer? I don't like.
You could take Mr. Jennifer Lee, or you can take Nick Cage. So.
Okay.
And then for my second pick, I'm gonna take Genie from Aladdin.
Yeah.
I initially had him too, but
Aha.
woo!
Genie was one that I was like, that was top of my list. That was my first pick. And then I came across the Commander and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go with the Commander, stick to the superhero genre. But yeah, of course, Genie. That's like, he's the Disney cheat code. Now, do you get though, like, is this like, you have 3 times you can use Genie and that is it?
There's no limits. We can't put asterisks on the
Genie before he is free. That is what Kyle has drafted.
Well,
Kyle drafted the lamp.
Isn't it 3 things for Aladdin, but then he could also do 3 things for other people?
That's a good point.
So
even if it is, so every team member can get 3 wishes.
Well, he can also just, he just does turns into different people for shtick. So if he can turn it into anybody he wants.
So he basically is also just Mystique.
Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, no, Balthazar, I have no idea. Sounds like it's a good pick. Couldn't tell you. Genie is a great pick. So that's a very good start to your team there.
Well, I didn't take Jay, whatever his name is. So
I don't.
From She's Out of My League.
Oh.
I can't think of his name. I know, poor guy. Jay.
Baruchel. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So
back to you.
Back to Becca now. So for your second pick. So you have Tron.
Yeah, I have Tron. Not sure that, again, this is going to be a smart pick, but I'm going to take Ellie, the detective from Rescue Rangers, from the new live action movie.
Wow. Okay.
So I think she's got a lot of potential. I think she's very smart. She was able to help cartoon characters,
Wow. Wait a minute. Oh, no. This just opened up an interesting... Oh, no.
Oh, don't worry. They don't get it.
You're going to take Ugly Sonic?
No.
Oh my gosh.
It did. Okay, no, I'll stay away from that. I have a list to work off of here. I don't need to open up animated characters in live action movies.
But no, I took a real
No, you
person.
did. Yes, you did. But that just made me think of, could we just I'm not gonna try and work around like that. Okay. Yeah. So Ellie, so now you have a detective with what is essentially sort of an AI.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, you're building a dynamic with your team here.
It sounds like we're building towards that.
You basically are drafting the Scooby-Doo gang.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm back up now, and Kyle did take one off of my list with Genie, and I do think I need to get some magic on this team here to sort of combat that. And this is a different kind of magic, but I'm going to take Santa Claus. I'm going to take the Santa Claus, Tim Allen. There's some magic at play there. And I mean, it's Santa.
So, talk about Tim Allen. Oh yeah, you're always going to take the Shaggy Dog.
That's right. Yeah, we joked about Shaggy Dog as a pick earlier too. But yeah, Santa Claus to go with the Commander. So that's a strong 1-2 on my Avengers now.
You get the new Tracy Morgan Easter Bunny as well, because
please no, I do not want the Easter Bunny on. And actually,
you don't want to get your enemies pregnant?
I do want Tracy Morgan. I don't want the Easter Bunny, which the Easter Bunny has been in the Santa Claus movie before, right? But it was I don't know who the actor was previously.
Not as good as Tracy Morgan.
All right, now
you're gonna get the holiday armadillo.
All right, now I'm not sure where I want to go here, because I do have one that I wanted to get as my leader, and again, I don't remember the movie well enough, but I think the Commander, just based on his name, is probably sort of the leader of this team, even with Santa Claus there now. Man, this is tough. You know what? I got to get the muscle. I got to get the muscle on this team. And this isn't probably going to help me in the polls all that much, so the name of the movie is going to go in parentheses right behind it. But I'm going to take Frank Wolf. That would be the main character from Jungle Cruise, played by The Rock.
Okay.
I don't want to show you my full list, but I have whatever The Rock's name was in Jungle Cruise
yes.
on my list.
Listen, you may have an army. We have a Hulk now. So Frank Wolf is my third pick.
I'm going to give away one of my honorable mentions now because I'm not going to take her. But the whatever the guy's name in Rock's name in Jungle Cruise was right above Wrinkle in Time Girl.
Oh, that's actually not a bad pick. Oh man,
Her name is Meg Murphy.
Thank
you.
Mhm.
Storm Reed. That's all.
Yes.
So yeah, okay. Back to Becca now. You've
Okay.
got Tron and Ellie.
Okay.
Which is funny because I thought Storm Reed, The Last of Us, Ellie.
Oh,
and now
yes,
Ellie
yes.
was your most recent pick.
There you go.
Yeah, now you're back up. Who are you adding? Who's your Fred or your Velma on this
Oh,
team?
well.
Shaggy Dog is still on the table.
Yeah. No, I think there might be an animal or two that I'm considering, but just to show that I've watched a lot of Disney.
Oh boy.
Maybe Zorro from the
that is
from the 1958 movie.
yeah. No, that's a brilliant pick.
And after watching that Once Upon a Studio, where we saw all of these characters from every decade of Disney, I'm like, this will be a great team up. We've got, Zorro from a black and white movie and first computer animation for Disney.
Yeah.
So yeah, Zorro.
That's you have to lean in and be like punctuated. Yeah, no, that's a really good pick and one that was not on my radar and should have been because I had similar characters. I guess as similar as you can get to Zorro, but yeah, no, that's a good pick. Kyle, you got to wrap up your team now.
Yeah. So Jess is home.
They're excited for you. Wrap up your team.
So I have two magic characters, and a big theme of Marvel is magic and science.
Okay.
So I'm going to take Wayne Zielinski.
Oh, nice. Okay.
From Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
I had a similar pick in mind, but I did not put him on my list, so I don't know the character's name off the top of my head. I'll mention that in honorable mentions later on.
Yeah.
Wayne Zielinski. Yeah, that is a good one.
And then for my last one, I guess I will get some muscle. I'm down to two, but I'm going to take the more popular of the two by far. I'm taking Beast.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if you were going to do it. That was the one that I was talking about. Yes, that would have been added to my list the last second here. I do have another really funny one for Muscle though too that we'll talk about later. A couple of them actually. Okay, so you wrapped up your team now. Balthazar, Genie, Wayne Zielinski, and Beast. I like it. But now, do you shrink Beast down so that he can just get in and like an Ant-Man situation?
I mean, I totally could. Or you can blow him up.
You could blow him up.
I basically have Ant-Man.
Very true. Yeah. Although it's not just like hitting a button. You have to like get him in a room, blast him with this laser.
Gotta have some Cheerios on hand at all
right.
times.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
a bumblebee.
French class. Becca, back to you now. You get to round out your team. Tron, Ellie, Zorro.
Yeah.
Very eclectic team now. I like it.
No, I know. Well, then let's just keep going with the weird. And how about Togo? Can I do Togo, the
dog?
sled dog? Yes.
You can also just take the dogs from Sled Dogs or Eight
No.
Below.
No. We don't.
But this one has a name.
Togo has
There's so many Disney live action snow dogs.
I think Togo.
Okay. I like it. Now, for transportation or just to have
A little bit of yeah.
I like it. Togo.
Speedy and
Was that a Disney Plus movie?
I think yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that count? If that doesn't count,
No,
I think that does
absolutely counts. Yeah.
Willem Dafoe.
So yeah, strange little team there. Started strong. I don't know how we're finishing now, but
It's you know what it is. It's like a very different superhero team. It doesn't have Avengers vibes, but it has like. I feel like there's another team that is like a mystery.
The Boys.
Definitely not the Boys. That's a different vibe for sure. But no, it definitely has that like a superhero team vibe, but not quite. Yeah. All right, so I have to make one more pick here, and there's a lot
Maybe
left
from
on my
that Aaron
list.
Taylor Johnson movie we can't say.
Never mind. Okay, one more pick here. I want again, I wish I knew more about the commander before making him the first overall pick of the draft, but I'm trying to round out my team. I want that sort of hand-to-hand combat, not necessarily the muscle, but somebody who can handle a close-up fight. I have a few options for that, but I'm gonna go with Mulan. And that means ending my draft also with another live action Disney movie I haven't seen. I
was thinking Mulan too, and same thing. I haven't seen it.
I assume it was very similar to the animated version. So basically, I'm taking that version of the character and just sneaking her in as the live action Mulan. All right, so that rounds out our draft. Let me go through our lineups real quick. I have the Commander, Santa Claus, as one does, Frank Wolf from the Jungle Cruise, Mulan. Becca has Tron, Ellie from Rescue Rangers, Zorro from Zorro, and Togo. Kyle has Balthazar, Genie, Wayne Zelinsky, and Beast. Honorable mentions. Becca, who else is on your list?
Well, I really like the Barefoot Executive, and they haven't put it on Disney
So you
Plus.
also could have taken Kurt Russell.
No, I wasn't going to take Kurt
Just
Russell.
not a
I was going
Kurt
to
Russell
take
draft.
Raffles the chimpanzee because he was the one. He was the Barefoot Executive. He was able to help select the best TV shows for the network. So I figured he might have some smarts there. But I thought of Giselle from Enchanted, but she doesn't really have. She's got a little bit of magical vibes to her, but really,
I did think about Enchanted. I knew there was magic in play. Can I just say, haven't seen the movie.
oh,
I know it's one that has been on my list for a long time. I have to watch that movie.
yeah, it's really good, and I liked the sequel too. So I thought of Robin Hood and His Merry Men from 1952, but bow and arrow, Zorro's sword, kind of okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm Condor Man. Because
Good pick.
Yeah.
Kyle.
Mary Poppins,
Okay.
Inspector Gadget.
Oh, that's a good pick.
Yeah,
Should have picked
But-
Inspector
a
Gadget.
little bumbling.
Yeah, but he always lucks his way
which
into it.
one?
Sure.
Which
Gadget?
gadget?
It'd be Matthew Broderick over French
French
Stewart.
Stewart.
Yeah. The Jabberwocky would have been my other muscle idea from Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, see, I haven't seen the live action
okay.
Alice movies either, and I thought this. I was like, do I just take the Mad Hatter? I don't like.
Right.
Ursula.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I have Christopher Lloyd written down. His character in Angels in the Outfield.
Oh, you just drafted Angel.
Yeah.
What
The
are they-
Rocketeer.
I had the Rocketeer on my list, and I was considering him with my
Yeah.
last pick.
And Airbud. No rule says the dog can't be an Avenger.
I took a dog.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so I have and I'm surprised you guys didn't mention this one either, but I can't believe we didn't draft Jack Sparrow. That was the one that I was like, I wanted to be the leader of my team.
Sometimes
feel
you
like-
just need a drunk guy.
I feel like he would be annoying though.
Oh, he would absolutely be annoying, but he has a way of putting people in the right spot, that works out mostly for him, but it tends to work out for the other people too. I had you mentioned Ursula. I wasn't sure where to go with villains. I had Maleficent. She's more misunderstood.
Mhm.
So that was the Lone Ranger, which was I had,
Oh,
Zorro, I thought, I didn't want to go similar kind of. Benjamin Franklin Gates. Nick Cage from National
another
Treasure.
Nick Cage
Yeah,
choice.
that was
Oh, he's
And then a couple funny options for the muscle. I had Mighty Joe Young. The giant
yes.
gorilla would have been an interesting one. Also, a polar bear from Disney Nature's movie Polar Bears.
nothing from George of the Jungle.
No. Oh, I didn't think about that. That's a good one too. But no, just a singular polar bear. I thought would have been a funny option for my Avengers team.
That is a good one.
Also, Miss Piggy. I had the Muppets become a sort of, I guess, it's a live action movie, right? It's not animated, so
That's true.
so yeah, Miss Piggy was an option too. Becca, thank you for joining us for this
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Thank you so much
craziness.
for having me. It's been fun, guys.
Yeah, thanks. And Barely Necessities will be back. Sorry, as you're just like drifting
No,
away.
you're fine. I don't know.
Give me the Bebo free.
We might get an episode in this week, but in the following week. So
Okay.
TBD.
So Barely Necessities will be back at some point. Just like we will. Just like Zzzax of Live will return next week to break down the 4th episode of Loki.
That's what we should have our outro to say, like Zzzax of Live will return. Da, da, da.
Oh, that's a good point.
Oh, I like that.
That's good. It's kind of ominous. You don't tell them when we're going to return, but just
Exactly.
we will return. So yeah, Kyle, anything else we have going on that we should need to mention?
I
at
don't
the end
think so.
There's like nothing going on with the Laughing Place YouTube channel as far as live streams go in the near future.
The
Laughing Places.
morning show will return on the 25th.
Oh, the 25th. Okay. I don't even know what today's date is. The 20th. Okay. So, yeah, Laughing Place is a little preoccupied for this weekend. We can shift back over. I feel like we're just sort of awkwardly not centered now that Becca has left. We're a little preoccupied this weekend. Congratulations to Tony and Morgan. I don't know how much they want us to say, but congratulations.
We talked about it on every other show. So
Have we? Okay. Well,
yeah.
Tony and Morgan are getting married, so congratulations to them. Yeah, I think that's it. We've that's all we've got going on for Laughing Place and for Zzzax of Life right now. Be sure to check out laughingplace.com for all your latest. I keep looking at the microphone as if it's the. I don't know where to look when Kyle is sitting right next to me. This is a very weird experience. It worked out. I think it worked out. I'm looking off center the entire time, but maybe that's a good thing.
You'll hear it through the audio. Him looking off center. And that's our cue.
Yeah. Calvin is telling us it's time to wrap up. So thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you next week.